Alright, today we're going to be reviewing the Daily Math Review A, and the two skills that we are focused on for Daily Math Review A are order of operations and solving single-step equations. So these first problems that we're going to look at today are the order of operations, and hopefully you remember the order of operations. We can remember PEMDAS. P is parentheses. E is exponents. This is where some people start getting confused. The M and the D actually go together. Multiplying and dividing we want to do from left to right. And then adding and subtracting are last. And again, those are also from left to right. So we do not want to forget these steps here, that they go from left to right. Parentheses also look like this. They can also include brackets that look like that. Or they can include a fraction bar where you'd want to do what was in the numerator and then what was in the denominator before you actually worked out that fraction. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of all of this so we have some space to work. But we want to always be keeping in mind those order of operations, even when we are told, like we aren't told that it is an order of operations problem. Alright, so the first thing that I do when looking at this problem, I see that I have addition, subtraction, and division. So I think about which of those do I need to do first. And I know that division becomes before addition and subtraction. So I'm going to do my 15 divided by 3 first. Now I think it's really important to do the step of showing your work. So even though I'm not doing anything to 11 plus 8, I still want to write down 11 plus 18. And then my minus sign, I didn't do anything with that either. Now the last thing I want to do is actually solve this 15 divided by 3, and that would give me 5. Moving on to my next step, I have addition or subtraction. So addition and subtraction is worked from left to right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is 11 plus 18, and that is going to give me 29. And then I'm going to bring down this minus 5, and that'll be my last step. So my final answer, 29 minus 5, is 24. And it always is a good idea to box in your final answer, but as you can see, it's very clear what my steps are to solve this problem. Alright, so I'm going to look over there at the problem to the right of this, and over there I also have addition, subtraction, and division. So I'm going to solve this problem in a similar way. If you want, you can pause the video and try to solve it yourself. Alright, so again, addition, subtraction, and division. So I want to do my dividing first. 18 divided by 6 I know is 3. But I do not want to forget to bring the rest of this problem down. I want to rewrite it. 5 plus 8 minus. And then I had my 3. And it's okay if it kind of gets off the line like mine is right there. This work is for you, but it should still be neat as you can make it. So next I want to do my 5 plus 8, and 5 plus 8 is 13. And then I'm going to bring down that minus 3, and 13 minus 3 is 10. Final answer, so I'm going to box it in. You can see these problems have similar operations, and I'm not going to work all of these out, but you could go through and do that yourself if you would like to. In this one, you'd want to do your division, and then you would want to do your addition and subtraction. In this problem, over here, you'd want to do your division, and then you'd want to do your addition and subtraction. Alright, so let's look at our next type of problem on Math Review A. And the second type of problem is a one-step equation, and we're going to be using the inverse operation. Now, whenever we are solving an equation, our goal is always to get the variable by itself. So the variable is the y. I made that way too dark. There we go. We want to get that y by itself. So that means we need to get rid of anything that is by that y. We want to get rid of this plus 28. So we want to do the inverse, the opposite. So the opposite of plus 28 is minus 28. Now this is an equation. It's like a balance beam, seesaw. What we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side of the equation. So I have to do I have to subtract 28 on the other side as well. So these cancel out, leaving you with y, which is what we want, equals, we do want to write that part, we don't want to just put the answer, and we're not going to be using calculators on this math review. So I highly advise not doing this math in your head, even though you're probably capable. But since this is going to be important, we're going to be taking a quiz, then we want to check our work and take our time. So since we can't do 5 minus 8, I'm going to borrow from this 6, making it a 5. So 15 minus 8 is 7, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So there's my answer. I'm going to write it over here. Y equals 37. Now, if I want to check my answer, what I can do to check my answer is I can take this 37 and I could substitute it back in there for the y. So is 37 plus 28, does that equal 65? Well, let me check real quick. 37 plus 28, that's 15, it's 5, 6, 65. So I know my answer is correct. And again, if you're taking a quiz, you definitely want to take the time to check your work. All right, so let's look at the second problem over here. We can see in the second problem that we have our variable r, and we want to get rid of what is with the variable, or beside the variable, and that is a minus 13. So the opposite of minus 13 is plus 13. So on each side of my equal sign, I need to do a plus 13. Alright, and that is going to cancel out. My minus 13 and plus 13 cancel each other out, leaving me with just my variable. And 26 plus 13, that one's a little bit easier to do in your head, but I'm still going to write it down over here. That would give me 9, 3, so 39 should be my final answer. So I'm going to box it in since I think that is my final answer. Now I want to go ahead and check this. So I'm going to substitute this 39 in there for my variable. So it is 39 minus 13. Does that equal 26? 39 minus 13. 6, 2? Yes, it does. So I know my answer is correct. All right, we have two other types of equations that you might see that involve addition and division. In this problem, this first one here, this means 4 times n. So if you want to, you could rewrite it. Now, I don't like using this when I'm writing an equation, and the reason that I don't like using this is because this multiplication sign right there sometimes looks like an x, which can be confused as an additional variable, so it's not a good idea to use that x as a multiplication sign. You can use a dot like I have used right here, but it's best to write it just the 4 and the n right next to each other. So we all need to know that 4 next to an n means 4 times n. Now the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So to get rid of multiplying by 4, we are going to divide by 4. Now a lot of people, when they want to do dividing, they want to show it like this. But that is not the correct way to show dividing when you are doing algebra. The way that we want to show dividing when we're doing algebra is to make it look like a fraction. So this means dividing by 4. And again, just like those other problems, we want to divide on each side of our equation. So if we're dividing the left by 4, we need to divide the right by 4. So my 4's are canceling out, leaving me with n equals 28 divided by 4 equals 7. Now I'm going to check that answer just like I checked on my other equations. So if I put a 7 in there for n, 4 times 7, does that equal 28? Yes, it does. All right, and then my last problem over there is the one that probably confuses the most amount of people because they see a fraction and they get all nervous because it looks like a fraction. But remember, this does not really mean a fraction in algebra. This means dividing. So to get rid of dividing by 8, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. Again, let's not use this symbol for multiplying because it looks like an X. To show that we are multiplying by 8, I'm going to put it in parentheses. So multiplying by 8 on this side, multiplying by 8 on this side. So my dividing by 8 and my multiplying by 8 are going to cancel out, leaving me with W equals 11 times 8 is 88. Pretty positive that's my answer. I'm going to box it in, but I am going to check it, and I'm going to check it by substituting in the 88 for this W. So does 88 over 8, does that equal 11? 88 divided by 8 is 11. So I am correct.